Good evening. China gets tulip mania. We'll have a report. Spire faces delisting. They were one of our poster kids. I don't know what's going on there, but we're going to look into it. NASA wants to build autonomous space stations. Astronauts, of course, are claiming it's union busting. ESA safety programs get a big funding boost, but it raises the question, what were they doing before? China has a new commercial space regulator, as if the CCP wasn't harsh enough. How much can they add to this just for them? It appears to be Groundhog Day on the Senate confirmation hearings. A micro-reactor startup, Antares, closes a $96 million Series B for space-based nuclear power. A veteran cosmonaut was yanked from Crew 12, charged with spying by SpaceX. York Space Systems gets ready for an IPO, and Eutelsat shares drop 7% when SoftBank cuts its stake. And Starliner missions are now cut to cargo only for the rest of the contract. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. And as you know, our program is sponsored by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what is that? And what do we do? You know now, you can almost say the litany yourself. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory, access, and advocacy. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. Now, a lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by listeners and fans like you. So if you just go to cscf.space/support and click that plain as day donate button, a little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Now, coming on with me is my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who just finished interviewing Zarathustra. That must have been a hell of a conversation. Michael, come on in.
Hey!
Hey, I thought Zarathustra had other plans for you for a second.
It's like nothing is happening here. Yeah, hey, how's things?
Hey, the Spake Michael. What's going on?
Let's Spake Michael. That's the guy who came up with the Superman, the Obermann ideal, right?
He was the kind of the key character in the Zoroastrian tradition.
Right, yeah. Cool. How's things? What's going on?
Oh gosh, for me, I'm just trying to get out from under a ton of crap. And now I've got a bunch of medical stuff tomorrow, so I'm going to be like, my first half of my day is completely gone. I got two things I got to do with the vascular surgeon. It's a follow-up thing. I've got a bunch of labs that get drawn. It's like, and then I got to shop.
Yeah.
So I don't get home till 2:00. Ben's not going to see me. It's other than that, but today as I told you earlier, I finished with a lot of things, and something plopped onto my desk, like just completely uprooted everything I was thinking on a certain topic. It says, now I got to go redo it and fix it all because this is actually so much better. So
good.
There you go. So there's that. And still big news, as you know.
Yeah, fingers crossed on big news. We're all waiting for that.
At least we have the name of a bank that we can, bother now. Right. Hey, where is it?
Hey, where is it? Exactly. I've had some interesting conversations with both JP Morgan Chase and Silicon Valley Bank. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed that they are trying to get into this industry. So if you don't have a bank that you are committed to, I'm at least pondering these guys. So, maybe that's helpful.
We had that one guy. He's in Seattle with you.
Yeah,
and, we had him on our show from Silicon Valley Bank. I was absolutely amazed at their comeback story.
I was, I went to lunch with him for almost an hour and a half
Uh-huh.
and learned more. I became very impressed by those folks. Right, he was cool as a guest, Joaquin, but also just the interaction and their commitment to the industry.
Yeah,
We haven't had the JP Morgan guy on the show because it's harder for him to get permission to be on the show,
sure.
but super impressed by both of those organizations in a
Wonderful.
way that I had never considered before.
Yeah, we'll have to look at this offline and talk about it some more. I'm
Yeah,
just wondering if some of those outfits, especially SVP, might be interested in sponsoring some of our stuff.
right. Yeah,
I know it's not a big amount. It has one comma in it, but
right. Yeah,
maybe it's something they could do, and
yeah.
it'd be good for them. It'd be good for us, and
Yep,
we can help
yep.
people. The more we get in, the more we can give out and help people. That's
Right,
how I look
exactly.
at it. So,
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
it's the holidays, guys. Come on, everybody who listens to this thing, all 100 of you, think about it. And we appreciate it so much.
We do. We do.
You don't get a lot of hearing this time of year because everybody's looking at the save the puppies and save the kittens and save the children and save the hungry people and you got the homeless and the foodless and the
Yep.
politicalists and the
Yep.
and everything and but to come up and say, well, hey, we don't do stuff like that, but we do give people hope. We do
Right.
create things. We've sponsored 98 companies, and about 35 of them have gotten funded over the years.
We've
I
we've
mean, that created jobs.
we've invested in awards to almost 400,000, $350,000.
100,000 now. It's over
Yeah,
400,000. But
yeah.
90 companies have been profiled by us now.
90 companies.
15 years.
Good for us, right? Good job, right? Yeah,
No, a third of them got a little over a third of them got funding. And
yeah.
so I challenge most VCs to have a track record like that these days.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into it today.
So I had to start with something snarky, of course.
What a surprise.
But yeah, Beijing's getting into tulip mania. And what do I mean by that? Well, of course, it's orbital data centers for AI. That's what they want to do. Oh, gee, join all the other tulip growers out there.
Right. Right. I'm gonna take a moment to give a shout out to a guy named Philip Johnson. He is a local Seattle guy, and he has single-handedly made this into a global conversation. So hats off for him pulling this off. I may disagree with it, or certainly the way that this is being positioned, but it is pretty cool that one guy can have that much influence because
you got to hand it absolutely.
Yeah, hand it to him for sure. Yeah. So what do you think about this? All right, so I know you're a skeptic of the idea. You got 30 years worth of IT background, so you're coming from a different perspective here. But what do you think? I mean, it's crossed the ocean, and now China is getting into the game.
Yeah, it's like that mind virus. Right. These mind viruses that you get, I think, are more dangerous than COVID or anything else that because coming out of a lab or a meat market or something. It's mind viruses infect worse and have more lasting damage. And you can make that argument for a lot of different things, which we're not going to get into. But in this case, I think this AI data centers, this space thing is a bit of a mind virus. We're going to get something like that. It's not going to be at the scale that anyone thinks there's going to be. There's a lot in what I know Chevrolet talked about, in his blog post a couple of weeks back, and so we'll have basically edge computing in space, and we'll be there'll be beaming power from orbit, to those data centers, which makes a lot more sense than beaming it all the way to the ground.
Right.
There'd be a lot. They're going to have a lot more. They're going to get a lot more power out of it with a lot less effort.
I still have some hope in what was a guy named Tom that we had a couple weeks ago, and I think it's going to look very different from what the artist representations that are out there now. Microwave sized data centers that can be easily replaced, a lot like Planet Labs pioneered the idea of disposable satellites. That, I think, has real possibility. But Connex sized container shipping container sized data centers, I remain very skeptical of that. Although we didn't
keeping them cool. They're having the same problems with thermodynamics up there than we have down here with that stuff.
We don't have it on the news today, but a couple days ago, maybe a week and a half ago, somebody just announced that they're going to start creating solar panels in space, manufacturing them in space. I don't understand their math. I don't understand how they're going to do that, but that does probably help the data centers in space argument if you can manufacture on site. But I don't understand how they ship up the raw materials.
That's what I was going to say. Where's the raw material coming from?
Right.
There's a whole premise that Peter Glaser and those people had way back in the day, the high frontier days.
Right. Yeah.
Was they were going to mine that material on the moon.
Right.
And make the settlement in L5, and bring the materials up there using a mass driver. And the only thing I think they built a sample of that I really like was the mass driver originally. And someone I know, some guy is my uncle actually years ago. He took the idea of a mass driver, turned it into a circle, and made an electric motor that would go forever.
Right on. I do think that there's something to those original O'Neill days that still makes some sense even now. Even was it almost more than 50 years later? Would that come out? I think maybe 1973, something like that.
75, 74 or 5. That book came out.
Okay, so 50 years.
Out. Yeah, I was just finishing up. I was just getting my first degree.
Good for you.
So that was long ago. God. I still have some of my old books. Some of those books are still very good. Just because something's old doesn't mean you throw it away.
I've got,
like when I went through my microbiology rotation, the book I used, most of the stuff in there is still just as valid when it was published then as is being used today. It's the same basic knowledge is still being taught to undergrads.
I've actually got. It's on my shelf, but I don't think I could find it quickly. But I've got some of O'Neill's original documents put together in design settlement. Can anybody see that? Space Settlements, a design book. Yeah, no, this is one of the original. This is from NASA, and it is 1970s.
Was that the long tube, or is that the Stanford Torus?
This gets you to the Stanford Torus. This is 1977.
That's what it looks like. Morty, you know what we're talking about?
And it's part of this 1975 fellowship program. It is an amazing document.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm trying to find the list of participants because it's jaw-dropping.
But NASA was great back then for giving us all our generation false hopes. They were they went to these periods where they produced these incredible kind of very, very compelling, exciting documents, and then years later we wake up and realize they didn't build anything. They didn't even try.
But they inspired. All right, so get this, right? So the folks that we know that we're just talking about, but here's the names that shock me. Stephen Brody, he used to be really involved with ISU. These are students. This is the student section.
Yeah.
Stephen Brody, Eric Drexler.
Oh my God.
Right?
Mark
Hopkins from the National Space Society.
Okay.
Right?
That's a place.
Yeah, no, technical director Gerard K. O'Neill, right here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this is even, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's even more interesting than the High Frontier book
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it's, he spent some time writing kind of the fluffy background material for High Frontier, but this is like technical, like we're not trying to explain it to anybody who doesn't know, like people who are reading this know. Yeah, so that's one of my treasures. I'm
Absolutely.
pretty
Absolutely. Yeah.
pretty proud of that.
Yeah, we were all Jerry's kids back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow. So anyway, back to Beijing and drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe it's a new flavor of Kool-Aid. It's a new flavor of Kool-Aid.
We'll see where it ends up. There's many times in our history, even in the history of our lifetime, where crap tons of money were thrown at something that didn't quite yield the results you were expecting.
Not what we were expecting. Well, let's move to Spire. Speaking of that, we weren't expecting
This is where
this
one kind of upsets me a lot because
Sure.
Spire is one of our poster kids.
Right? Yeah.
From
We
the
love those
BPC way back when, in the glory days, even of the $100,000 grants and stuff. So how do you face New York Stock Exchange non-compliance?
Before you get into that,
yeah,
tell why they're one of our glory days of the business plan competition.
Well, okay,
right?
well, they were
tell the story of Spire because they weren't
sure.
Spire back then.
Sure. Way back when, in 2012, a company got in to compete in our new space business plan competition. The first one with a $100,000 NASA grant from thank you Pete Worden, and they were called Nano Satisfy. And interestingly, during the boot camp, the whole Nano Satisfy team showed up, except Peter Plotzer, who was the head of it.
Right.
Okay. So they're going through the thing and they get it. They're having a great time, and we're going through, they're doing all the teaching and they're doing the presentation and they're doing it all. What happens the next day when it's time to actually do the presentation? Peter Plotzer shows up and insists on doing it himself. So this is one of the funnier moments of the event because he didn't have any of the benefit of what everyone else had. They're trying to tell him, Pete, no, you got to do this, no, you got to do that. And you only have 8 minutes or 10 minutes or something, and he was going on and on. He didn't finish. We had to cut him off for time.
Right. Yep.
And then the judges were brutal.
Because that's their job. That's not that they're mean. Yeah. It's that they have an obligation to be fair. Yeah.
But here's the cool part. Here's why being in a BPC is so important. One of the judges just happened to be Hoyt Davidson.
Hoyt Davidson, our friend.
And Hoyt Davidson, even though he voted against giving them the money, he took a shining to them, and he wanted a meeting, which I, of course, arranged. And that led to Nano Satisfy getting their first 7-figure round of funding. He helped them get that.
So
and they soon after that
didn't win the competition, still got a life-changing relationship.
Yes. So when we do one of these things, you need to apply and take it very seriously, because you never know who you're going to meet at one of our events. Right. And it happens a lot.
We weren't running the unknown quantity back then, but that's a great story, which I think is worth telling over and over again.
Yeah, and they changed their name to Spire, obviously, and then
here we are.
So really,
fast forward, they went public. When did they go public?
Had to be before COVID.
Yeah, 2019. Let's just say 2019. It might be
just
around
to be on the safe side. Yeah. But they didn't file their 10Q.
Jesus.
See, this is what I mean. You know better. I know better.
Right?
You file that shit. And you have to take. You have to do the phone call.
They got pretty close to being delisted about 2 years ago because their stock price had fallen too far.
Yeah.
And they didn't file then either. So this is like the second time they're getting in trouble for non-compliance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to see at the end of this.
Well,
here's the thing. I just want to get this last paragraph. Commentary around the notice suggests that the late 10Q arrives at a sensitive moment in their transition. Because as of second quarter, they reported 117 million in cash and cash equivalents and marketable securities, and guided to finish 2025 with 100 million cash on hand and targeting revenue growth of 20%. I guess there's something going on. They've been overhauling their balance sheet. They closed the sale. They sold their maritime business apparently.
Right. Yeah.
And paid off a lot of debt with that. That's how they ended up, because they sold it for 239, and they actually realized a gain of about 154.3 with it, and they spent a bunch else, and now they're down to 117 or so. But they're trying to tighten cost and focus on higher margin contracts, and that makes the accounting more complex. And so this is banging into the timing of the quarterly filing. Now they have procedural pressure,
right?
And so they're in a pinch.
Well, okay, but this is important, right? This debt, they are debt free and can support sustained growth and a clearer path to cash generation over the next several years.
Yeah,
that to me, that's like that. Literally, that's the last sentence, and it's the bottom line, right? They got, $100 million in cash. You can do a lot with $100 million in cash and no debt, right?
Well, there is a huge story about that in tech sector from back in the 90s.
Yep.
Apple was only had a 3.5% market share. Their stock was tanking, but they had $3 billion cash in the bank. They just didn't know what to do with it. So they bought a company called Next, and its operating software, Next Step Software, and they brought Steve Jobs back in, and the rest is history.
Yep.
So now they're like, sometimes they're at the top, or he's the second highest, in market cap today.
Yeah. So I would, while I'm concerned about their paperwork, I would not count Spire out of the game. Right.
Oh, not at all. I'm rooting for him 100%. But then the other part of me says, don't lose your listing on something this stupid. Get the homework done. For the love of God, just get the homework done.
Yeah.
That's you have insane. A good story. Tell the fucking thing.
Right. Just file it. Right. Yes. File, even if it's wrong, do an amendment if you have to, but get the damn thing filed. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Yeah, it feels kind of like amateur hour over there, and they've been public for a couple of years, so it's not, they don't have room for amateur hour over there.
Yeah, well, but Plotzer is Plotzer. He has his own ego, and he has his own way of doing things,
right?
And he's not going to. He has his mission plan in his head and his path, and he's not going to deviate from it. So, he was always that way.
Yeah, he's one of the ISU kids that just kind of had marched to their own drum. Yeah. Cool. All right. Paperwork. File the damn stuff. Get it done.
Okay. This is one I just did for fun. They have their NASA's doing a robotics mission, and they say the results of it could reshape the future by leading to space stations that are autonomous. And so I made a snarky comment that says, yes, the astronaut union is all claiming that this is union busting. And you shouldn't do it, and NASA's just trying to cut us out of the loop and give us and make us make concessions.
Right. Playful response. If you have enough AI up there, you could make the claim that it's taken astronaut jobs.
Yeah.
Now I think this is cool tech. I thought it was really interesting. I had not heard of this system. We reported on in-space assembly and manufacturer ISAM from NASA. Many. I don't know. We've been following it for years, right? I think the first time I posted about it was maybe 2022 or so, something like that. But they're making more complex robots that can build the quote unquote NASA strategy for a dominant space economy. The successful demonstration of in-space robotics is expected to lead to commercial opportunities where private companies can develop their own technologies based on NASA's research and findings.
Okay.
That sounds pretty optimistic, but fingers crossed.
Right. They don't really describe much what that dominance consists of.
Right. No.
A dominant space economy. How is that defined? What does it mean?
Right. Yeah. No, I don't think anybody knows the answer to that yet.
Now, if we have an edge in robotics on the ground as a result of this, that might be something you could point to. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out in space, I don't know. But then, on the flip side of that, and being flip about it, obviously, NASA's always had far more astronauts on the roster than they've had flights for them. So,
Yeah.
going back to the 80s.
I wonder if that's going to continue to be true, though.
Yeah.
With 6 space station companies in development, I suspect we do not have enough astronauts. I really suspect that. They're going to pull people out of retirement. They're going to be pulling people out of teaching gigs. I do. I think there's going to be a point very soon.
Oh yeah,
maybe not 2027. I'm gonna just put a marker in and say 2027. We're going to have a shortage of astronauts.
Right. So I can see that they're having this big meeting in 2027. In comes Story Musgrave with a walker, going.
I'm like hired. Right?
Yeah, come on.
I'm like that. That's all. That's all the qualifications I need.
There's a wheelchair here. Come on.
It's 0G. You don't need a walker.
That's right. It's 0G. I don't need anything.
Right? I am so on that. Who's that guy that fixed the Hubble? Campbell, Scott Campbell. Is that the right name? No, I've got it a little bit wrong.
No,
anyway.
There is. God, he's on the tip of my tongue. I can't. Yeah. I see him in my head, and the name is not coming out. That's just a senior moment, but it's
yeah. No, but I mean, there's some super qualified folks that are just sitting in academia waiting for the phone to ring, and I seriously, I think 2027 is going to be the year where we realize we don't have enough trained astronauts.
Well, we're going to have to look that up then. How many? Maybe someone. Hey, maybe Morty can look that up for us while he's listening. How many active astronauts are on NASA's roster right now?
Right, and then multiply that by you take the number of commercial space stations that'll be orbital in the next 5 years. I think that's going to prove the case.
But that raises the question: do you think all those new commercial stations coming online really require a NASA astronaut to be on them?
I think they are going to. I think their investors are going to require that they have qualified personnel, and that's the fastest way to get there.
Yeah.
I think, I've said before,
NASA astronauts. There'll be NASA trained astronauts that no longer work for NASA.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
put
Morty.
a fine point on it. 47 active astronauts.
Yep.
Thank you, Morty.
Yep. So
how many flights are in the pipeline right now? 3?
Yeah.
And one is 2 years away or 3 years away.
So
we got 4 going.
Well, and we gave one of those seats to the Germans just this week.
Yeah.
Right. So even that we don't even have the full capacity.
So that's 3. Now we got 44 left to fly. So who's getting Artemis 4? In the middle of 27 probably, or late 27.
Tom, Sean is saying we need to get into the astronaut life insurance business. Well, okay. So there's 47. There's 44 that can probably fly, that are waiting for a mission. But there's 6 commercial companies going up, commercial space stations going up. That's not enough, even if they're doing partial rotations.
Well, this has happened before. Deke Slayton waited 17 years.
Right. Jesus.
From his selection to actually a flight. And so.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm not quite as grim as Sean is about we need to get into life insurance business, but it does bring up the point, right? If you can't insure it, you can't build it, and if you and you need to have qualified people making those flights, otherwise the insurance numbers are going to be too high.
Mhm.
You can sign all the waivers you want, but yeah. So anyway, I think that's going to be really pretty interesting. And I think the in space assembly and manufacturing is really cool, and that is going to add to the requirements. We're only going to be able to
and we still have
roboticize so much stuff.
Yeah, we're still not shutting down ISS until 2030. We still got another 5 years basically,
Right.
to fly crews up there every 6 months, 2 or 3 at a time.
Yep.
And so, they're going through the rotation. But once that rotation ends and Artemis starts winding down, I mean, I don't know where you go. So you're going to have to hire more astronauts and train them. But I think we're going to start seeing more joining us from the European front and from the UK.
Yeah.
And that'll add to the numbers.
I think we hit 57 countries have signed on to the Artemis Accords. I bet you there's a bunch of partners there waiting to fly as well.
There may be probably the 10 richest ones.
Sure.
The rest of them, we'll see. We'll have a I don't know who's the last
Joe.
Who's the last one to sign on?
Joe Pastruno. Hey, buddy, thanks for being here. Running out of astronauts was not on my radar.
Well,
I've been predicting this for a while, man. I have. I've been saying this for a while.
Well, only on a show like this are you going to get that.
Right.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Exactly. Yeah. No, okay. I mean, just play that out for a second.
Sure.
Let's assume that 3 of the 6 space station companies are successful. Maybe the other 3 are going to crash and burn. Maybe the other 3 don't have enough money. Maybe the other 3 merge in with the current ones. But let's just say of the 6, only 3 make it.
Yeah.
By volume, all 3 of those are bigger than the ISS, which means they can have at least 7 people. Some of them are planning for 12 and 15 people rotating through. If just 3 have 12, that's 36, right? And then you're going to have rotations because you're probably not going to go up for a year at a time in the beginning. You're probably going to go up for a few days at a time in the beginning, and then a few weeks, and then a few months. I could see needing 100 astronauts, triple that, 100 astronauts by 2028.
Yep.
I don't think that's a unrealistic number.
If they're getting the same training, you could have basically, they're not NASA trained. They're not NASA astronauts. They might be NASA trained partially, and these guys might pay for this. But what happens is you're going to have corporate astronauts.
Yep.
Basically, but they're getting the same kind of training, and so they're just not getting the wings, to get, for a NASA astronaut. But they might as well, because they're getting the same training and they're getting the same opportunity. And so VAST may have its own little cadre of private commercial astronauts to work on their space stations. And maybe they'll be the engineers who keep them fixed. They're sending Scotties up there.
There are several private astronauts that currently work for Blue Origin.
Yep. Many
work for SpaceX. Joe, you're making some comments about foreign astronauts wanting to fly. I don't know if you're aware of this, Joe, but there's at least 3 companies that are trying to commercialize the development and training of astronauts. There's a really big site in Colorado, and there's 2 small groups near Washington, D.C. that are trying to do a combination of medical and ethics and communications and fitness that are all trying to make astronaut training into a business. There's a big site out in Colorado that's in development. So I'm not the only one thinking this.
I do like his rule of thumb. I mean, 3 times the number who are in space at any one time.
Yep.
Just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
Of course, our buddy Kwang Hung K is with us. He showed up tonight. Hi, man. I haven't seen you in a while. Says, I'm a candidate. I believe you.
Yep.
He'd be a great candidate.
Yep.
All right. The gaps are really easy.
Oh, yeah. Right. All right. Let's move on to ESA for a minute.
Okay. It's actually important. I was a bit snarky about it, but it's actually important. They just got 22 billion over 3 years to do more space stuff. Well, their safety program just got another almost $1 billion, about 900 and some odd million euros to build new things and protect everybody. That's 30% more than the previous funding level and way above the amount requested in the proposal. And so that's interesting. How often does that happen?
Right.
Here's
extra money.
Yeah. Here's the government saying, here's extra money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so planetary defense, and they're doing cornerstone missions, space weather, active debris removal, and in-orbit servicing. That's basically their safety portfolio.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. In which case, they got more than they requested, and for all that stuff, they need more than that.
They do, yeah.
When you think about it.
Well, shout out to our guest of a couple months ago, Mary Clance, because she has really been pushing this space weather stuff as critical infrastructure for our satellite networks. So glad that they're thinking about that. They're starting to split up that 22 billion euros. There's another big section. It's pretty close to $1.5 billion that's going into their defense Earth observation sector. So that 22 billion is getting split into pies right now. That's cool. I like it.
That is. And of course, Sean says, if you want to impress me, get a Bubba qualified. I don't know.
That would be.
I can think of a couple of guys who should apply for that. If you're rooting for Bubbas, then I know a few. They could probably make the cut.
That was the theme behind. What was that? Was it Deep Impact that they hired a bunch of oil rig worker guys? That's the. That's the key, right? Once we start hiring oil rig workers, then we know we've turned the corner.
It was not Deep Impact, but it was another very popular, groundbreaking movie. Right. It had Willis in it and all those people.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, they were blowing up. They were using nukes to blow out the asteroid so it would miss Earth. And
Mick Jagger's daughter was in it. That was the only thing I remember. That's Bruce Willis.
No, it wasn't Mick Jagger. It was Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler. Yeah. Oh, Liv Tyler. Yeah. That's the only thing I remember. All right.
Yep. That was the name of the film. But that was a pretty good movie. Well, my favorite part was when one of those characters everybody's going to throw things at them if they succeed at this. I know it's so dangerous. You're probably going to die. Right. And they came around and said, well, we want this. Yeah. Okay. We want this. Yeah. Okay. One guy stands up and says, we don't want to pay taxes again, ever.
Yeah.
And they said, sure, because no one expected them to live.
Right. Yeah.
It's like COTS. No one expected that to succeed. The people who funded it.
We should
fail.
We should put that in some legislation somewhere that if you're a private astronaut, no taxes for you.
Yeah, you could probably sneak it into one of those 2,500-page omnibus bills.
Right. Sure. Right.
I wanted to do something like that. Just a couple of lines to change the legal tender laws. Right. That would fix everything.
All right. Let's move on to NASA. Here we go again. What's that phrase? Deja vu all over again?
Yes, this is a Groundhog Day. I think even Ted Cruz said that during the hearing. It feels like Groundhog
Yep.
Day. I know
Yep.
one lady on that committee. No, this not. This is not it. This is the last story, not the first one or the middle one. This is Jared Isaacman confirmation hearing link.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. In fact, I think one lady on that committee actually said, I had all my questions answered the first time around. I'm probably not going to ask any now. Let's just get this done.
Ta-da! Right.
Yay! Thank you.
That's our senator from Washington, Maria Cantwell. So,
Okay.
pretty rarely, I was going to point that out. Pretty rarely do Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell agree on anything.
On anything.
If
Yeah.
one of them says the sky is blue, the other one's going to be like, prove it.
I don't. Yeah. Right. Show me.
Show me. Right.
Extra didn't happen.
Pretty happy to have Cruz and Cantwell on the same page there. Yeah.
I think they just want to get it done. They're probably just weary about this whole process. They want a NASA that functions. However it functions, they want a NASA that functions.
Yeah.
So let's get the right team in place.
Yep.
But apparently Greg Autry is already claiming that he's been approved to be CFO.
What?
But it hasn't been announced yet. But he's already talking as though it has.
I didn't think he had a hearing even scheduled. Did he have a hearing? Wait a second. This is way bigger news to me.
I saw a clip from some other event where he was speaking and he was asked about it. He said, "Oh yeah, it's all good."
Wow, interesting. Honestly, that is kind of breaking news if that's true. Yeah. I have a very selfish reason for wanting that guy to be the CFO at NASA. So, yeah, that would be very good. That would be very good for me, and that'd be very good for Liftport. So,
yeah, Greg's a player. He knows everybody. It'll work. It'll work.
Yeah. All right, so wouldn't that be a great powerhouse? Greg Autry and Jared Isaacman.
Oh yeah.
How
did we get in there, Michael? That'd be even better.
Right. Yes. Right. That's a team that could get something done. I mean, really could get something done.
Could you imagine what that first meeting would look like?
Well, all right. So here's what we're going to do. All right. Show me the budget on everything that is happening at NASA. I want a 1-page budget. We'll be generous. I'll give you 3 pages. Put everything that we do on the budget, put a price tag next to it, and justify why it exists. And then,
and Greg would probably do that. We'll probably already have that ready.
And then you Sharpie about 20% of it.
Yep.
And then the whatever is saved goes straight in. How much of this is from Dr. Plata. How much of a difference can a NASA CFO make in the terms of direction? A normal CFO never makes the news. This is my answer. I'm not speaking for Tom, and I'm definitely not speaking for Dr. Autry. My opinion is the CFO of NASA never makes the news, never makes waves, never steps into the limelight. I couldn't tell you the name of CFO of anyone at NASA going back 3 administrations or maybe even 5 administrations. On the other hand, Dr. Autry has been making waves for at least 12 years. I met him for the first time in 2012, maybe 2014, something like that. He is loud. And he gets people's attention. He's got friends in very high places. And Joe got to me the answer before I did. A CFO can ask the right questions. I think that that's really, really true. And because this one in particular is a commercial focused guy, that he could single-handedly swing the pendulum in the right direction.
And he's the perfect guy for a Jared Isaacman to have next to him.
Right. Side by side, that is a powerhouse team.
In all the meetings.
Yep. 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 He's like, it's going to cost this much, and we're going to get this much out of it. Let's do it.
Or we could do this over here. It would
Right.
cost a little less, and we get a whole lot more.
Right. Yeah. He is.
I think I know what topic we're talking about.
Yeah. I don't fully, same as with Tom. I don't fully support the politics, but 100% support the guy to get the job done.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm excited. Tom, that was completely new news to me. I did not think he is really cagey about that. He wouldn't say something if he wasn't confident it was happening. So
yeah, I couldn't believe he said that, and no one else could believe he said that either, because there's still been nothing, in the media about it.
Yeah. As far as I know, he hasn't had a confirmation hearing. But would I know he had a confirmation hearing? I don't know if it would make the news. So
Right.
All right. So Jared, and Greg, that's a powerhouse team. I would love to see that. I would be happy with just Jared. All right, but it's so much better if.
But the point is, this Groundhog Day meeting.
Yeah.
Yesterday they did. He didn't really get hammered about a lot of things. There was that report that he put out about 7 months ago. It was kind of critical of Artemis and some other stuff. And while he says he still supports current activity, he did not walk away from that report that he wrote. He still stands by it.
Yeah.
7 months later. So
I'm going to point out that it's called Project Athena. CNN has a copy of it, and it's a pretty interesting document. It really is. I would actually encourage people to read it.
A total leak. So
yeah, absolutely. No question.
Yeah. Okay, well, Doug's got another question. There's a lot of pork in NASA, but can Autry do anything about it? That's more of a policy matter. Will Congress listen to the numbers? And of course, what is the opposite of progress? Congress. I get it. Yeah, that's an old joke. But yes. Well, if Autry is loud enough and gets the right number of ears, including his new bosses, maybe something can be done about it. First, you have to convince. Well, one of the things is, I'll say it right out, I think you have to convince Ted Cruz that the private sector is ready to pick up some of this, especially for going back to the moon. Because he was just 100% on board for just giving Artemis money. He was one of the guys who was, giving more money back to pay for Artemis.
Yeah.
So if you can convince him that there are other options and they will be cheaper and they might work better in the long run, then you might get somewhere. And this is a good opportunity to do that.
Doug, I'm going to answer this question. I have to actually be really careful because Autry has told me things in private that I don't think I can share. Certainly, I would not share online. I might share them one-on-one.
Yep.
But he is such a strong advocate of the commercial sector that he was getting sabotaged in some very real ways by folks that don't share that opinion. And so he's definitely in our camp. He's on kind of our side of the equation. I think that's all I can tell you publicly, but I know this to be true. So that's all I'm going to say on it.
Yeah.
Autry does not like the pork in NASA. I am assured of that. So I don't know what he can do about it. That's a good question, right? Congress ultimately has that control, but Autry is a very qualified speaker, and he can hold his own on Congress. So that's the best answer I can give you with public information. But I know some private stuff that sways me deeply. That's all I can tell you. All right, Project Athena. All right, let's talk about this microreactor for a moment. It's not really space, but $100 million going into Land, sea, and space-based nuclear power certainly should get our attention.
Yeah, and this was a Series B, so
Yeah.
I was kind of looking. What else they've okay. X Energy raises 700 million Series D,
Right.
and there's a lot of people trying to do something like this. A lot more than I thought.
Yeah.
In terms of nuclear.
Right.
Right.
There's a whole ecosystem. There's 4 companies here in the Seattle region that's doing small, garbage can style nuclear systems, Connex box size nuclear systems. There's a few that are trying to do fusion. There's a whole energy ecosystem up here in the Seattle region. I was not aware of most of the companies in this article, so it was actually pretty fascinating reading for me. But it all will lead, or some of it will lead to space assets, space power.
Yeah. A lot of this other stuff. Here's one I think is interesting. ALO Atomics, 100 million to build a demonstration data center powered by a microreactor. And even NVIDIA contributed to a $650 million round for Terra Power, which is a small modular startup, which is also backed by Bill Gates. Even the big nuclear plants are given a second chance. They're going to restart a reactor at 3 Mile Island by 2028. Constellation Energy, they got a $1 billion loan from the DOE, Department of Energy. So there's all sorts of stuff going on in that era right now. I'm not seeing the word thorium anywhere, but
Nope.
I'm kind of waiting for that one.
Yep. Well, I think this is all a reaction to current person in charge of NASA that's not the administrator, Duffy. That's all I can say. Like, he doesn't really have a title that's easy to wrap my brain around, but he's currently in charge of the transportation secretary is in charge of NASA right now. And he had 2 mandates: get to the moon and bring nukes with us. So he's really pushing the nukes. And I feel like this is a ripple effect of that policy decision. I really, really do hope that if Isaacman comes on board, that he is able to keep that nukes in space capability, because I think that's super important.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see more. Yeah. I want to see nukes out there too. I mean, we've been doing this. I mean, what do you think Voyager 1 is running on?
Right.
After almost 50 years. What do you think they're running on?
It ain't Duracells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want fusion of some kind. I don't know what form it's actually going to take. Stardust and Rainbows could be it too. Yeah. According to Sean. Yeah.
Let's take a moment with this kind of downer story.
Yes.
By the way,
this is just weird.
Yeah, I have never heard of this news source, so I do not claim that this is, biased or slanted one direction or another. They claim that they are the world's largest independent Russian news media.
Yeah.
Which has never once wound up on my screen, but somehow Google's algorithm threw it my direction.
Right.
Veteran cosmonaut pulled from the joint Russian-U.S. mission after allegedly photographing sensitive SpaceX hardware. Now, it's been confirmed that he has been pulled, and that's straight from NASA, that he's not on this mission, but no other explanation beside that.
Yeah, there's also been side talk as to whether, he was kind of also thrown out of the United States with prejudice.
Right. Yeah. Quote, a probe is underway, removing someone from a flight 2.5 months before the mission without a clear explanation is more of an indirect sign, but a telling one. It's hard to imagine an experienced cosmonaut unintentionally committing a violation this egregious.
Yeah.
Right?
But then they
Yeah.
claim NASA doesn't want the scandal to become public. Well, here it is.
Here it is.
Right now, today, right here on the show. It's right here. Sorry.
Right. Sorry,
guys.
Yeah. Okay, but all right. So this is relevant to what we talked about last week, though. They kind of blew up part of their launch pad. So now that they are dependent on us, I wonder if that gives us a little bit more weight to throw around of who we're letting on these flights.
Well, there's that.
I don't know if those two things are connected or not, but in my mind, they are.
Well, that and the price. Because
Right?
remember when we were between spacecraft,
Mhm.
the going rate for a seat on a Soyuz for Anusha Ansari was 25 million. And
Right?
as soon as NASA came in and said, well, we need to fly our guys there now too, it went up to 80.
Right. It went from 25 to 50 basically overnight. And then over about a 4-year period, as we dragged and dragged and dragged getting a replacement system in place, the price climbed tens of millions of dollars.
Remember Excalibur Almaz?
Oh, yeah. Right.
They went totally out of business as a result of that policy move. They're gone.
Yep. That's Duma's company, right? Art Duma's company.
Dula's, yeah.
Dula.
Yep. And Hightower.
Yep. Right.
Buckner Hightower. They're a little long in the tooth to start over again. So I guess they're just going to just keep running Heinlein price trust until they're physically unable to do it. They still have out there in the Isle of Man somewhere. They still have a couple of those Almaz capsules that they obtained, and they're just sitting there gathering dust. Because they bought those Almaz capsules, years ago, and they brought them to Isle of Man, and they're sitting there. Yeah.
At the very least, it's a pretty great museum element, but that's probably worth having and deconstructing that thing or reverse engineering it.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Oh, I didn't see Dr. Plata's nukes in space comment. Well, you got to be a certain age to get that reference, but all of us that appreciated the Muppets from the middle 70s, end of the 70s, appreciate that. So thanks, buddy. All right, we got 3 minutes left. You want to do another story?
Well, we've got one. I'd like to do this one at least.
Yeah.
And we can mention Starliner. It won't take us a minute.
Sure.
York Space Systems has which I never heard of for some reason, or having an IPO, and they're actually based in Denver. I don't know why I haven't really heard of these guys, but all of a sudden they're doing an IPO right now. It's interesting because I just saw somebody talk about Jeff Brown or something from one of those finance companies. He was saying that IPOs were a little bit thin on the ground this year in the whole market.
Yeah,
and they were wondering about people are a little risk averse now, but in our industry, they're flying upwards.
Really,
we've had a bunch of IPOs
in
the last couple of years that have got when there didn't used to be any. IPOs died back in the teens.
Right, yeah, sure.
And then now in our industry, at least, they're back on the upswing, as opposed to the rest of the market.
What I really liked about this is that York's backlog reached 642 million as of September 25, and then skipping a couple of paragraphs, the IPO is a logical outcome of the company's trajectory with evaluation estimates exceeding $2 billion. Dude, that's only a 3 1/3 multiple.
Yeah,
that actually feels really low.
It does.
I too I've heard of this company in passing. I had no idea that it had satellites in the sky. I didn't know it had contracts with Space Development Agency. I certainly didn't know they had $600 million in revenue in backlog, not revenue, backlog.
Mm-hmm.
Really important distinction. I had no idea that they were as big as they were, and then ta-da, this shows up on the radar. But under normal circumstances, three and a third multiple seems very low to me. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, no, I believe you. I believe the same thing. It's a little too low, and that raises some concern. And so we'll see if this IPO actually happens as a result of that. Because if we're noticing this stuff, the early birds who want to get into the IPO have got to know this too.
Who was it that was it Rocket Lab that went public a couple months? No, it wasn't Rocket Lab. Somebody went public a couple months ago, and we announced that they had something like a $3 billion valuation, and then the very next show it was up to 5 billion or something crazy like that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like this is the same situation. I don't know
Yeah.
that for sure. I
Yep.
do not know this company. I'm not making any recommendations. We do not make
Okay.
recommendations on
That's
this
right.
show, but
Okay.
it is a little startling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Just one last thing, but we got to go. But
Yep.
I'm not going to get Starliner in there. But Joe Pastrito says that the Voyager lockup expires Monday. Watch that trading. That's
All
going to
right.
be probably insane.
It was, yeah, that's going to be super cool.
Yeah.
I forgot you were, well, I'm outing you because you've outed yourself before, Joe, but he was an early investor into the Nanorax days, I think, right? Something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that, man. I wasn't paying attention to that. I didn't realize that. That's going to be
Yeah.
interesting Monday. All
Yep.
right.
Yep. It'd be good to watch.
And yes, Joe, that's three and a third on their sales backlog.
Yeah.
Not revenues. Yeah.
Not revenues. Well,
Okay.
having said all that, Monday, our guest will be Michelle Hanlon, a space and drone lawyer. I think we've had her here before, and she's a lot of fun. And we're gonna have some more fun. That's gonna be a great show. And that's Monday, as always, 8 p.m. Eastern. So from the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, for Michael Lane and Sean Key, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.